Hi guys, Ep3 here, and today we're going to be talking about Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones. This is the review video. Now, I did a video already. It turned out to be a rant video. Basically, in that video, I just stood in front of the camera and talked about how much I disliked the ending. Almost no editing to it. I didn't add any graphics like I usually do, nothing. It was just me ranting about it. It made me feel better. It was therapeutic. After I posted it, it got a lot of traction on YouTube. I'm a very small channel. I get 50 to 100 views a video, and that's fine. I do it for fun. I'm not trying to make money doing YouTube. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I just like talking about pop culture. I worked at Blockbuster for years, and I just like talking about movies and TV shows. I want to thank everybody who watched it, commented on it. Thank you so much. Thank you for liking. And if you're a new subscriber, thank you. I know I picked up quite a few. Again, I'm a very small channel, so quite a few is like 100. May not be a lot to everybody else, but it's a big deal to me. That almost doubled my channel size. So thank you guys. Welcome new subscribers if you're checking this out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get directly into talking about Season 8, Episode 3. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I already ranted about the ending. So I'll just do this like a regular review. But what I'll do is I'll talk about all the stuff I did like, because there is some good stuff in this episode. Everything is not black and white and life, and it's not black and white when it comes to pop culture. There's good and there's bad, and it's all a matter of opinion on how you felt about it. A lot of people have a lot of strong feelings about it, and I'm for one, I'm not giving up on Game of Thrones, okay? I want to see what they do at the end. There's plenty of time for them to stick the ending. I'm not saying that all of Game of Thrones is I'm throwing in the trash. I'm not throwing in the towel yet. There's 3 episodes for them to do there's a lot of potential left. So I'm not giving up on it. And again, this episode, I don't hate it. I hate the ending, and I hate some specific things in it, but I also love some specific things in it. It's just like anything. So that's how I'm going to do this review. I'm just going to talk about what's good and then talk about what's bad. So first thing I want to talk about is the beginning. So the beginning of this episode is great. It sets an amazing tone. Just the score is amazing. I love the music. Nobody will ever say the Game of Thrones score is terrible, because it's not. It sets a tone. They're handing out the dragon glass. They're all staring into the abyss. And then Melisandre comes out and lights up the Dothraki swords, and they take off, and all the lights go out. That scene was it was shocking. It was terrifying. Now, we'll argue, and I will say this probably belongs in the bad category as far from a logical perspective, because that's not how you treat your cavalry. They literally have used their cavalry effectively in this show before. You use it as a pincer move. Come in from the sides. I don't know why they do that. They just let them run out and get obliterated. So everybody who's upset about the Dothraki, I completely feel you. It was a good-looking effect, though. But yeah, I'm upset about the Dothraki too. But it was a cool scene. The other thing I want to talk about was basically the swarm. When the swarm just comes in on Winterfell and overwhelms the Unsullied, it looked like something out of World War Z. It was like a bunch of ants covering a beetle or something. It was pretty terrifying. You're like, well, they're dead. They're dead. There's nothing they can do there. So that was a great scene. It really spelt out like the hopelessness of the situation. Of course, that kind of segues into some bad stuff. But let's stay on the good stuff. Let's talk about Theon. Theon gets some redemption here at the end. Theon has never been one of my favorite characters. I never hated him. When I rewatch Game of Thrones, because I've rewatched it several times, I always fast forward through the Theon being tortured scene, which happens for a while, and because it's really uncomfortable to watch. But I love that his character got some redemption. I thought that his redemption was going to be saving Yara from Euron. That made sense to me. But they brushed over that in the first episode, which, as I said in my other review, that was a waste. I don't know why they did that, but that's what they decided to do. So this actually ends up being his redemption, his return to Winterfell to defend the Starks. The way that he went out, it's Theon. I mean, he's never been a real strong fighter or anything. I mean, he's really good with a bow and arrow. We saw that in season 1, so it was kind of cool that he actually did some stuff. So he was in a hopeless situation. He got some redemption. That was great. I love Theon's ending in his redemption arc. Full circle, great stuff. Also, Jorah. Jorah Mormont dies defending Dany. We all pretty much called this. I talked about this in my Who's Gonna Die video. I specifically said Jorah's going to die defending Dany from the White Walkers. I said that. Wow, I was right about something. But that's not like that was such a shot in the dark. I'm pretty sure we all thought that. But I'm sure he's really glad that he went out defending Dany. I mean, if he had to pick a way to die, that would probably be it. So I'm glad he kind of, again, full circle with his arc. Great stuff. The way Theon and Jorah were handled in this episode was great. One thing that does kind of suck is that Lyanna Mormont also died. So the Mormonts are done. Like the Mormonts as a house, they're done. So that's kind of sad, but they'll live on in Longclaw, which is Jon's sword. The Red Woman lighting the trench, basically, that was a great scene. I actually thought one of Grey Worm was going to run in like Uruk-hai style and blow up the gate like in the Helm's Deep, but, light the trench and he was going to die. But that's not what they did. Melisandre came out there and lit it, and it was a great last second flames coming up right as she's about to die. I think it would have been cooler if the flames actually went up, like the iZombie had got her, because she dies at the end anyway. So I think that probably would have been cooler. But hey, it was fine. It was a pretty cool scene. What also is good about that scene is it lets us know that Dany kind of went way off script and basically threw off whatever plan they had. Again, I think that whatever plan they had appeared to be kind of terrible. They wasted their cavalry, and their 2 dragons got completely taken out of the fight for the majority of it. So, their plan went up in smoke almost immediately, especially when the blizzard rolled through. But again, that segued to the other thing. The other thing that was good is that Arya has way too much screen time, which I'll put that in the bad category, but staying on the good category. Arya fighting and sneaking through Winterfell. That was just really great. It kind of it broke up kind of the monotony of just hacking at, whites, since we couldn't see a whole lot that was going on anyway. It kind of broke up the monotony, and it was a very tense scene. Really great. So yeah, Arya sneaking around, good stuff. Also, I do want to say that the visuals you can see, like the dragons against the moonlight when they get up above the clouds is one of the most beautiful scenes in Game of Thrones. I mean, again, we can argue about how we feel about the episode and everything else, but to me, the dragons rising above the clouds, it literally felt like some fantasy epic. The fantasy epic that we hope that the whole episode might be, considering they're fighting an otherworldly threat with the White Walkers. It's too bad you can't see much of the dragon fight because it's in a blizzard and there's snow and it's dark and there's shaky cam and green screen and everything else, so it's really hard to see the actual dragon fight. But that specific scene when they get up in the moon, man, great stuff. All right, so let's segue to the stuff that I didn't particularly care for. Obviously, again, I have another rant video. If you want to see the main thing that I hated about this episode was the ending, please go check out that video if you have not. The number one thing probably is how dark it was. It's a creative choice. I felt like they really wanted to make the audience feel like they were part of the battle. If you bought into that, you probably liked it. If you did not buy into it, then you hated it. I don't think there's much gray area in how dark it was. Wow, that's completely terrible to say. But seriously, there's no... you either like it or you hate it, because you either felt like you were part of the battle and were completely lost, or you felt like completely taken out of what was happening because you couldn't see anything and were completely lost. So it's all in your opinion, really. I particularly didn't care for it. Part of it was how dark it was, but it's mixed with the fact of the shaky cam. When you mix in how dark everything is and the way it's shot, to me, it made everything very hard to see what was happening, and I was not a fan of it. The other thing is there's too many characters. Too many characters lived through this episode. This is supposed to be the end of the world. Grey Worm in particular, him living was just mind-blowing. I can't believe he survived. He was on the front line when the swarm rolled through. Then the next time you see him, he's like way behind the line, and like he pulls the thing and basically just traps all of his soldiers on the other end defending. I mean, I just don't think Grey Worm would just leave his command like that. It just doesn't fit into his character. They just, again, it's a plot armor. I feel like they're just afraid to kill off the character, and that's the only reason he lived. Like, for instance, Brienne. I don't know why so many characters lived. It would have been way more epic if you just, you can't see anything, right? And, 10, 20 minutes goes by. We haven't seen Brienne or Jaime or several of the characters. All of a sudden, when the Night King is raising the dead, as he's raising the dead, we see Brienne. She's dead on the ground. Her eyes open. It's blue. Brienne is now a White Walker. That's how you find out she died, because in all the chaos, you have no idea who was dying. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, I'm a Brienne fan. Obviously, it's not like I want her to die, but the whole point of this episode was to make it feel apocalyptic, and it did in the first 30 minutes, but the longer the episode went on, the more we didn't feel fearful for the characters, because it seemed like everybody was living. They were living through crazy, crazy things. So, I think that probably would have been a better way to go. I really think that kind of took me out of the episode, the fact that they didn't kill off as many people as I thought they were going to, and as many people as I think they probably should have in order to make the long night as epic as I think it needed to feel. And another thing is, Jon. Yes, I like Jon as a character. I do. The problem is not that, hey, I'm a Jon fanboy and I wanted Jon to kill the Night King. Him killing the Night King is what the show built up to. The show built up to that and then didn't deliver and wanted to subvert expectations. And I hate that term, subverting expectations. You can subvert expectations in a positive way. To me, this was not subverting expectations in a positive way. All this was you led the audience for basically the beginning of the show to the end, that Jon and the White Walkers are going to have to face off. Jon and the Night King are going to have to face off. And he didn't do much of anything during the long night. He really didn't. So I'm still upset about that. I'm not going to get off on a tangent about that. I already did a whole video about that, so I won't really get into it here. The other thing was Bran. What was Bran doing? I really have no idea. He said bye. He warged into some crows and flew around and watched stuff that was happening, I guess. I don't know. Again, Bran, they built up this whole him being a green seer throughout the show, and I'm not saying he hasn't contributed anything, because he has. It just seemed like they should have fit in. He should have fit in more with this specific battle, other than what he did do. As far as how that would take place, I'm not really sure. He could have warged into something and helped him. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of other creatures other than crows around there that he could have warged into and had a bunch of animals roll in and help Theon. But I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm not saying that's what they should have done, but just involve Bran in some kind of better way probably would have been a smarter idea. Sorry, guys, if there's a little jump in the lighting and whatnot. I actually have to reshoot the ending. I had a little problem with the audio, and I couldn't fix it, so I'm just reshooting the ending. So the final thing I wanted to talk about was the White Walkers. I understand why everybody's disappointed in the White Walkers, and I am too. But I think my reason for disappointment may be a little bit different than everybody else's. I'm fine with the fact that they were defeated in one episode. That doesn't really bother me. It's the fact that they were built up as the main threat from the very first shot in Game of Thrones. So it's basically shown that they're the real threat, and that's the whole point of the show, was that you unite or die. To me, that was what the show was. And it built up to that, and now they want us to accept that was not the main threat and that Cersei's the main threat, and I don't buy that. I really don't. I was fine with the Night King being taken out in one episode. That didn't really bother me as much as the fact that they're trying to have us buy that Cersei's a bigger threat. And I don't think anybody really believes that. So fine, if they want to stick to the whole Game of Thrones and their answer to that is to have Cersei be the big bad at the end, that's fine. It's not the direction I'd take. We'll see what they do the next 3 episodes. They could prove me wrong, but to me, the whole show built up to the White Walkers being the big bad, and they weren't. So, yeah. Well, at least I got to reshoot this portion. So, people were asking what my score was. I think I scored like 7.5 out of 10 if you excluded the ending. That's what I said in my rant video. I don't know if people realize this. My rant video was just me ranting. It was just saying whatever I thought. It's not a planned out video with notes or anything. Usually when I do reviews, I actually have some kind of guidelines and some stuff I want to talk about. That was just me venting. So I didn't cover everything that was bad about it, the episode, nor did I say anything that was good, I think, in the whole rant video. But I just want to thank you guys for sticking around on this video. Thank you to everyone who checked out my rant video. Thank you, new subscribers, if you're checking this out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geek264, and I'll always tell you the truth.